Good day, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Church of the Holy Point Spread. Oh, that was a different show. This is Vegas Legends Winner's Circle NFL Week 16 edition. We've got the best of Las Vegas right here to give you insights to this weekend's NFL action. Hi, I'm Chip Chirimbes, Las Vegas Hilton World Champion. I have Jim Feist, Mr. Vegas here, and of course, Paul Bovi, who's one of the finalists in the biggest contest on the planet in NFL handicapping. Welcome, guys, and big week in the NFL. We have a number of teams. 7 teams have already qualified for the NFL playoffs already, and this is because there's such a disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and some of these teams are just so bad, they're not even bettable. We've seen that, and some people, of course, we're looking to collect. But Jim, let me start with Paul, because Paul is one of 50 finalists in a contest that started with over 14,000 people. It's called Survivor, Circa's Survivor. And Paul, I also understand not only are you one of 50 that are left, one selection each week, no point spread. You must win the game, and you cannot repeat with any team during the year. Paulie, you're one of 50. Congratulations. And it's really getting down to the nitty gritty. You had an easy winner last week with Arizona over New England. And this week, I'm dying to hear what you have for us this week.
Well, congratulations may be premature at this point because unfortunately I haven't won anything. Although maybe if it gets down to a slim number, a small number, maybe there'll be some kind of arrangement, as is the process in these things, where at least people get a certain cut and then they play for the rest. But we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I got some choices to make this weekend. Okay. I still have the Atlanta Falcons left, as do many people. And of course, we know there was a quarterback change there. And we don't know if it's going to be for the good or the bad. But certainly nobody would argue that Kirk Cousins hasn't displayed much magic of late. So we don't know what we're going to get with Penix, but we'll see. And I have a few other choices to pick from, but nothing with any degree of certainty. Let me put it to you that way. So it's going to be another Sunday sweat. I'm not going to go with Thursday night game, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully I'll emerge.
And Paul, by the way, are you now working with VSiN as one of their handicappers off of the radio show on Friday nights?
Well, no, they have me in a contest, the Circa Invitational. There are 25 handicappers that went in, and they cut after, I think it's week 8 or week 9, they start cutting 2 a week. I'm still alive, and I'm third. I'm in third place out of the 25, and I think I'm like 6 points out of first. But I come off a good 6-1 week. I had the same kind of success here, so hopefully I'll be able to continue that, and maybe even capture the top spot.
Now, hey, Jim Foley's alive now in 2 contests, we understand, and that's wonderful for gamblersworld.net, where you can get Paul's premium plays along with Jim Feist's premium plays. Mr. Vegas, what about the disparity in the NFL right now with so many teams that aren't even bettable, and then we have 7 teams that have already qualified for the playoffs, 3 weeks to go yet, and still, the idea of having everyone being equal has not working out here. I guess some teams' draft systems isn't as good as others. Jim, what do you see? What's going on? The disparity in the NFL, do you think it'll continue, or do you think everyone's going to come back to the middle?
Well, Chipper, you and I go back 50, 60 years in this business, and I will say for myself, and I think you'd agree, that I've never seen this much disparity. We've got 10 teams at the bottom, we got the other teams, we got a few in the middle, and we got some at the top. It's very, very difficult because, like you said, there's a whole bunch of teams that are already in the playoffs, and a whole bunch of teams that'll never make it. They're trying to win 2 or 3 games or 4 games, and some of them, of course, are wanting to tank. At least the organizations want to tank so they can get better draft choices.
Yeah,
it's a mess. But we started the season off with 16 different head coaches, offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators, and a lot of new quarterbacks. And, the new quarterbacks, some of them came out real good and started for a while. And then you start with these quarterbacks, they're young, just out of college. They haven't played this many games against this quality of defensive players, haven't been hit as much as they, in college, they're playing against a lot of guys that are never going to the pros. And so the quality is different. So you're starting to see some regression from these quarterbacks. I mean, like even tonight, Nick's last week threw 3 interceptions, didn't look anywhere near how he had been looking. And he might bounce back. He's got good coaching. He's got a lot of talent. But you're going to see some regression from guys that haven't played this many tough games for such a long period of time in college. I mean, some of the cakewalks they have in college, they can get through them. You don't have those in the pros. So we're going through a transition stage here. And yes, it's going to get better as the coaches get a little bit more experience and they stop making some of the dumbest mistakes you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. And the same thing, a couple of years ago, and I blew my stack when they started talking about don't pay running backs. They're not worth bullshit. The best teams in football can run the ball. And just take a look at Philadelphia. And now with the injuries, of course, at Detroit, but still they're a great running team. If you can't run the ball, you're not going to win very much.
Jim, you mentioned the quarterback.
Yes, you also need a complementary great quarterback too.
Right.
So that it all goes along. It's old football. It is what it is. You're not going to become a passing league and win a lot of championships. You have to do both.
Well, Jim, you mentioned the quarterback. Michael Penix getting his first start for Atlanta. Cousins have been horrid down there. I think pretty much is off of his injury. Paulie has one big advantage if you're going to play Atlanta, Paulie, is that Drew Luck is going to be the starter for the Giants. They've had 3-4 different guys back there, and it doesn't matter who the Giants are starting at quarterback. That seems one of the weaker positions. Is either have or have not. Looks going on in Tennessee and Cincinnati. But anyway, this is week 16. Enough of that, and let's get to analyzing some of the top games out there. We've got the best opinions in Las Vegas. Believe me, gamblersworld.net not only has Paul Bovi, Jim Feist, myself, and a number of others. We've got Scott Pritchard. The top handicappers in the country are located right here at gamblersworld.net, and you can get access to all of their premium plays by logging on, follow the buy links, and become a big-time gamblersworld.net winner. You can have either Jim Feist, Paul Bovi, myself. Buy a monthly package. You'll save a lot more money than doing it on a daily basis, and it's guaranteed to show a profit, or you get the next month free. All right, guys, let's go to Kansas City, where the Chiefs have done an incredible thing this year. I mean, they've won 7 in a row, haven't covered one game as a favorite in that period, in that span. This team, Paulie, I don't think I've ever seen a team. I know we haven't seen a team that has gone 13-1, 12-1 with the margin of victory that the Chiefs have had here. Usually, when you're had that kind of record, you're dominating teams, and the Chiefs aren't dominating anyone. And this is the most unimpressive 13-1 I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But as Al Davis said, and what he's known for is just win, baby. And they seem to just find a way to get the money. And they did this past Sunday against Cleveland. And, of course, that was a lot of Jameis Winston and him doing what he does best as Jameis Winston, either throw touchdown passes or, in this case, interception. So they come out of the game with a win, advance to 13-1. Now they take on a Texan team that was pretty successful shutting down Tua and the Miami Dolphins en route to a win. I don't see a lot of offense here. This year, the Texans haven't been the prolific offense they were last year. I think C.J. Stroud has struggled at last check going into last week. He was 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 64%. They took a hit at the receiver position with Diggs, and I just don't like what I'm seeing in terms of offense with the Texans. But I think it'll be a closer game. It's probably ripe for a teaser play with the dog, and I think it's probably going to stay under the total.
All right, I can see why, too.
Interesting thing about that game, Chipper, is that game when they thought that Mahomes wasn't going to play, they had Houston the favorite. They were 2.5, went up to 3. So you could have taken Kansas City +3. Now, because it looks like Mahomes, that is going to play on the other side, Kansas City is now 3 or 3.5. That is a monster move within just a few days.
Well, you got to give Mahomes You got to give Mahomes his credit. These two teams have only in the last 20 games between them, they've only gone over the total 6 times. And you guys were talking about the quarterback situation. The CJ Stroud just has sort of regressed a little bit this year. Like I said, Kansas City has only gone over 3 of the last 10. Houston's only gone over 3 of the last 10. Houston's already clinched. They clinched their division. And Jim, like you said, they opened up without Mahomes. They opened up Houston, the favorite. It got driven up. Now Mahomes went in practice. So this game's in flux as far as what the points are here. 41.5 is the total. And under may be the way to go, guys. You guys may be onto something here because they just don't seem to put up many points. CJ Stroud has seemed to have regressed a little bit. Maybe because some of his receivers have been out at times, but I haven't been all that impressed with Houston. And, Kansas City, just like you said, Jim, they just find a way to win week in and week out. Now, everyone out there, don't be afraid to give us a like. You can share this. And, of course, just subscribe, gamblersworld.net. We're here every week. This is our NFL preview for Week 16. Paul Bovi, Jim Feist, and myself, Chip Chirimbes. And don't forget to watch Winner Circle's daily show, hosted by Sean Higgs. We have Marc Lawrence and a number of other big-time handicappers out there. Matt Franco. They're all there. They're all here. We have the best conglomeration of handicappers in the country of any website that's out there. So log on, follow the links, become a gamblersworld.net winner. All right, let's go to the next one. Jim, I'm going to stay with you here. Great game between Baltimore and Philadelphia. I mean, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And I'm kind of concerned that this Raven record line is 6.5. That's a strong number, Jim. Pittsburgh's 10-4 against the number, and you ought to feed that animal back there once in a while. Jim, what do you got between Baltimore and Pittsburgh?
This is a monster history between these two. Pittsburgh has dominated this team. The psychological Baltimore, when they play Pittsburgh, they just don't play up to their standards. And these games have all been close. There's so many games that have 2-3 point differences. But the problem here is Pittsburgh going to be healthy? I mean, this time of year, it really comes down to these injuries. I mean, their wide receiver who takes the top off and allows Wilson to get some of the deep passes, and because he's not the guy that he used to be when he came out of college and went to Seattle. I mean, he's still functional, but he's not as dynamic as he once was. He needs that guy to take the top off the defense, and they don't have him. Right now, I can't remember his name, the wide receiver. But he didn't play. He's got a hamstring. He is practicing. They say he's a chance he will play. That's good news for them. Also, Watts got hurt last week, and he's most likely to play. So you have one that's most likely to play, and the other one is kind of iffy. Now, Baltimore, they got revenge. They lost a close game to Pittsburgh earlier in the year. This is a big game. This is a really, really big game. But 6.5, I just can't lay 6.5 with Baltimore. I'm either on Pittsburgh or I'm not playing at all. And I probably, most likely, will be on the under.
But, when you look at these two teams, Jim, the first thing you think about is defense. The Steelers and the Ravens. And yet, I don't think it's the way these teams have gone. I mean, this Baltimore team is one of the best offensive teams out there. Paulie, Pittsburgh's won 8 of the last nine meetings, and only 2 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams have gone over the total. Do you think Jim's right here? Do you think the total's the way to go?
Well, this is a different Baltimore team. They're cut from a different cloth. Their pass defense is not very good. Their corners can be exposed. And this is an opportunity. And by the way, it's George Pickens, who I think you were referring to. This is an opportunity for the Steelers to exploit that. But the problem is Pickens may not play, and I don't have a lot of confidence in Russell Wilson. I was on Philadelphia this past Sunday, and, of course, the Steelers came in. The offense was mediocre at best, and the Eagles went on to a fairly comfortable victory after breaking open a close game at halftime. So, short of Pickens being in the lineup, I wouldn't look for Pittsburgh to score many points because Baltimore does stop the run. They're one of the best in the league, but they struggle against the pass. And I'm not sure that Pittsburgh is the team to take advantage of that. I don't think they are, and I do think Baltimore is going to score some points here. I just don't think a whole heck of a lot of Pittsburgh's defense I think they've been exploited on the back end in many cases this year, and I think Baltimore is going to get to 20, probably 24 to 27 points here. I look for Baltimore to put up probably 27 points. So if you think the Steelers could come in and score 21 or better, they're probably going to get a cover. And if you don't think they're going to do that, it's likely that Baltimore is going to, cover that number, and the game may go under at that point, depending upon how many points the Steelers score.
All right. I have a little question here. I'm wondering why a coach like Tomlin who's, none of us are crazy about Russell being quarterback here, and yet this team has been resurrected with him. He's never been voted coach of the year, and I don't think he's going to get it this year either with some of the other things that are going on with other teams. But that's sort of like an anomaly to me. That guy's never had a losing record, and his teams always seem to be so consistent, and yet he's never got coach of the year. Do you think he has a shot this year, Jim?
Well, you're right. He's never been coach of the year, but from what I read, he's never even had a vote to be coach of the year, which is not. I mean, that's about as far away from being coach of the year as you can get. Yeah. I mean, in all the years, he's a damn good coach, and he's done a lot of it for many years with less talent. He obviously knows what the hell he's doing. Yeah. And, many of these times when he goes up against Baltimore, he's been the underdog. And like you said, they've won 8 out of 9 times against them. Yep. So it's tough to go against that. There's something. And the other thing about it is this. I like Lamar Jackson, and I like Henry, and I like that whole 1-2 punch, being able to run the ball and control the game and everything. But there's something about Lamar when he gets in these big games. He doesn't come through. Right. I don't know why. It doesn't happen for him.
Jim, he's blown double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. 3-4 times in playoff games and in big games, either fumbling or having interceptions. And, games where he scored early and they didn't score at all in the second half. So either teams are making adjustments against him or he's just not coming through. It's hard to understand why not. Paulie, any comments on Tomlin before we move on?
I do have a comment on Lamar Jackson. Okay. He's put up great stats this year, but 18 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against the Giant team that wasn't playing anybody on defense on Sunday. Tampa Bay, who came in with injuries to the secondary and had sustained a few more during the game. And then 2 games against Cincinnati, which is certainly a luxury if you're going against the Bengals and you want to ring up some stats. Yeah. They almost blew the game against Dallas early on in the fourth quarter. They blew it against Las Vegas. He was bailed out against Cincinnati in overtime when the Bengals missed a field goal after he fumbled early on in the extra session. And there were other games, including the Steelers game, the lost 18-16, where he just did not come through in the fourth quarter. So, I would make that assessment about Lamar Jackson. In this case, he's got to do better in the big moments because that's not where he's excelling. He's excelling when it counts, but it doesn't count for wins, and that's the problem. So
Paulie,
that would be my comment.
Wasn't that Bengals Ravens game the game where you mushed a whole bunch of people at the Hilton or the Westgate?
That was. I think that was the first game, but yes, right. I was sitting with a couple people, and I did. You got a good memory. I did say something, and it was mentioned on the air that
I was swearing at you for 2 weeks after that game. You kidding me? I had the Bengals, and I never saw Jim. I never saw a team have more opportunities to win the game and close the game out and just blow it time after time after time. They even intercepted the first pass or play of the overtime. Were in great position and lost 5 yards before they had the field goal attempt blocked. All right, we're going to go to the final game for us this week in the NFL. This is gamblersworld.net, and Philadelphia and Washington are playing together and playing against each other. Philadelphia, of course, is already clinched. Washington's in a tough spot right now. Washington's gone over 9 out of the 14 games they played, and Philadelphia's only gone over 5 times. Philadelphia's rejuvenated running game with Barkley sitting there really destroying the NFL defenses. Philly and Washington should be pretty interesting. I'll start with you, Paulie, and how do you see this one going?
All right, look, I'm not taking anything away from Philly. And as I said, I had them on Sunday, and that was after a survivor sweat the week before against Carolina, where I think they came in a little disinterested, having been off several big games with the Steelers on deck. But, this is a divisional game, taking points. The first time they played, it was actually nip and tuck early on, and the Eagles pulled away late. And I'm going to take Washington to stay in the game. I catching a few points here. I think those points will come into play. Okay. The Eagles are due for a little bit of a letdown here. They have been anointed as the best team in the NFC right now, especially with Detroit having sustained all these injuries. But I'm going to look for a closer game, and I would side with the points here.
Jim, when I look at this game, I just think that Washington's in a very good spot with Philadelphia already having clinched and probably looking to try and remain healthy. I don't think Philadelphia believes that they have a shot at actually winning the overall number one seed. But Detroit's got so many injuries. Who knows what's going on with them? I mean, they could have that attrition could catch up with them. But Philly and Washington, these two are certainly going to go at it. They're close enough proximity-wise to be big rivals. So I'm looking forward to watching this game, though, myself.
It is a big rival. One of the dilemmas we have at this time of year is when you have a team that's already clinched and another team that's just trying to get into the playoffs, because Washington's not secure of playoff position yet. It's a great rivalry. You got good coaches on both ends. You got Washington's kind of a new team with the new coaches, the new owner, the new quarterback, who has, by the way, had his moments in the beginning that he got hurt. I think it was like a rib injury or something. And since then, he's been a little bit different, but he's still playing well. I don't know why you say that Philadelphia doesn't have a chance at the number one seed. They're trying to get the number one seed against either, you'd be looking at the possibility Minnesota, you got Detroit, and you got the Green Bay as possibilities that with the next few games if the wrong things happen. But Philadelphia could definitely get the number one seed. So they have that to play for. Now, if they lose to Washington, a couple other things, they could actually be in trouble in the division and it become a wild card. So they have incentive as well. And we know who the better team is. It's not hard to figure out who the better team is. The question is, will Philadelphia come in there with the passion and the focus that I believe Washington will come in with? And that could make the difference. This is where I'm not going to take the 3. I know Paul just said he probably be on that side, but I would love to take 4 if I could find a place that if we start to get some money on Philadelphia, you never know in the next couple of days you can get that. You might get a cheap 3.5 where you might can get it to 4. The other thing is a lot of people, and recently I've been doing pretty good with these teasers. That might be a good teaser spot on the dog.
All right, I happen to think that Washington's in a good spot here. But Jim, you just mentioned the incentive for the Eagles is still there. So you got to tread lightly and be careful here. All right, and we're going to wrap this up. We've analyzed the 3 top games in the NFL this weekend. And before we close, Jim, do you have any last words? Any game out there side that we didn't mention that you may have an interest in?
Yes. There are some we talked about it earlier. There are some really bad teams in the NFL. I mean, really bad. The Raiders being one of them. Atlanta with what's his face, the quarterback. They had to make the change. You have to have this has to be an upgrade for Penix. I mean, for Atlanta, because their quarterback couldn't even throw the ball, and it's not his ankle that's causing the problem; it's his shoulder. And I don't know why they're not being upfront about that, because he cannot throw the ball with any velocity. So it's a good change for them. I think they should have done this earlier. However, you have to look at the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears right now are maybe the biggest embarrassment in football. They have they got the number 1 draft choice. They just changed their quarterback, or not the head coach, excuse me. They did not get the head coach bump. A lot of times when you add a new head coach, the team, rallies and plays behind. They're horrible. And the Lions are coming off a very bad loss at home that they are going to bounce back. I'm a big believer in the intensity, the grit, the passion that Dan Campbell has. That team is going to destroy the Bears.
Jim, you must have passed on the Bears this past week because your TV's on behind you. I know you punished yourself last week because you had the Bears against the Niners.
I got anybody that would pick the Bears the way I did in that game. I got punished. They turned my television off.
You have enough sense at least to pass on them this past week as they got annihilated by the Vikings. Paulie, you got any last words out there for our faithful viewers?
All right, I'm going to antagonize Jim, the legend. Okay. I'm going to antagonize him. I happen to like the Bears this week, and I'll tell you why.
No.
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you why I like the Bears. Yes, Chicago's been playing awful. But remember, on Thanksgiving, they did give this team all they can handle. They were outplayed in the first half, came back. I got to
have a comeback to this. I have to have a comeback to this.
You will. You'll get no chance. Okay, it was the final score, 23-20, as we all remember. The Bears absolutely imploded in the waning seconds.
Right.
Didn't kick a field goal, and it was just an abysmal display of coaching. But here's where I like the Bears. I think they're going to bounce back. I think maybe the embarrassment of what went on the last few weeks will trigger something in there. And the other thing is, Detroit is just absolutely beset with injuries. It was bad enough going into this past week. Then you lose McNeil. You lose a cornerback as well. They just have too many guys out at this point. I mean, way too many. I could go down the list. And, of course, we know Anzalone and Hutchinson and Rodriguez. And then you add in about 4 or 5 other guys. I just think we're getting to the point where it's going to be too much to overcome. They may win this game, but the Bears are going to get to 23, 24 points, and that should be enough to get them the cover.
All right. Now, thanks a lot, Paulie. And he's got the Bears hot. We'll see what happens here. Good luck not only with the Bears this weekend, but also on Survivor, of course.
I do have a comment.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, Jim, you got to retort.
When the Bears played Detroit the last time, Detroit was not taking them seriously. They were on a roll. Best team in football. Everybody was saying they were much healthier. And that happens. We're talking about it. Does a team come in? They're coming in off a loss. They're coming in off of a lot of injuries. They had to work hard to beat Green Bay, knowing that they couldn't stop anybody on defense. This is a good coaching staff that they have. If you put coaching staff against coaching staff, I got a winner. If you put quarterback against quarterback, I got a much more experienced guy that's been in a Super Bowl, has been playing great. His accuracy is amazing. Caleb is holding the ball way too long. He's doing what he did back in college. He's not. He looks at his receiver. He doesn't have to go. He doesn't know what to do. The second reads are horrible. I listened to a great piece by Greg Cosell, who's a master at film. The big problem that they have. So I really see Pittsburgh coming in here with massive intensity, not like they did the first time they played them.
You mean Detroit coming into Chicago?
Detroit.
Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Jim,
I got too excited.
Jim, I'm pretty excited about my game. I'm going to take the green slime, and I'm telling you, you're really putting yourself on the line when you're taking the New York Jets, Jets, against the LA Rams. Long way for the Rams to go. A big game for the Rams, but it just seems to me like it's a spot where finally, after posting a win, the Jets might get there. So that'll be my play here on the show. By the way, thank you very much, everyone out there. Don't forget to give us a like. For Jim Feist, Paul Bovi, myself, Chip Chirimbes, keep watching. We'll be back again next week with more NFL analysis right through the Super Bowl. So log on, follow the buy links, become a gamblersworld.net winner. I'd like to thank you guys once again. Great analysis, great job, and I hope you enjoyed the insights from the Las Vegas experts.